Hey guys, it is Mike from Baltimore Rides here. I am wrapping up Saturday night, December 30th. It is the wee hours of New Year's Eve morning. It's about 3:45 a.m. and I am finally done. I was going to quit about an hour ago, but I kept getting rides. So sometimes that's just how it goes, you know. I was at about $180 at 3 a.m. or like 2:45, and I was just about ready to say enough is enough. I'd gotten onto Georgia Ave, and I was kind of going north, and the rides just kept trickling in, and they were decent length rides. They were good conversations, so I just kind of let fate tell me when was going to be when, and I ended up all the way back down in H Street, and then I got a ride all the way back up to Georgia Ave, pretty much where I'd started my journey, and that's fate's way of telling me it's time to go home, Mike. So, you know, just a good night all around. I know there were a lot of people on Facebook saying it was slow tonight, and I do feel like it was a little bit slower than usual. You know, and when I say a little bit slower than usual, I mean, you know, sometimes you get a lot more activity than we got tonight. I feel like it could have been a lot busier than it was, but at the end of the day, it was still a $200 night. It was still a very successful evening, and I was able to, you know, I started a little bit late. I didn't really get down to the city till about, 3 o'clock or so, but just active. Kept Uber, kept Lyft running. The math is probably, I'm looking at the Discovery building. They got weird lights on the side of their building. Sorry, easily distracted this time of night. But, about $50 with Lyft, about $160 with Uber. I think I'm just at about $205. So, I'll take it. It's the number I needed to make. It was definitely kind of my minimum for the night, and I'm happy that I got to it because I was a little bit discouraged. At about 11 o'clock, it slowed down tremendously, and I was really worried that it wasn't going to pick back up. And I was sitting on U Street for probably 20 minutes watching HBO on my phone, waiting for a ride. And then I said, you know what, screw this. I started heading north, and that's when the ride started. I'd gotten away from U Street. And the more I think about it, there's a lot of sense to that. There's so many drivers crammed into that little area, fighting for the same rides, fighting for the same customers, that, I'm actually a proponent of, getting off of U Street and going a little bit north. Now, I like Georgia Ave only because it's kind of one of my landmark roads. I tend to, gravitate towards the northwest quadrant and just work that area. I do like Northeast as well. I really think Northeast is kind of an untapped gold mine. But for me, at the end of the night especially, Northwest puts me in the direction I want to be going, which is home. So, it's got a Safeway on it, so if I need a restroom break, it's a good spot. It's just got a lot of kind of the feeding grounds that I need to be in. And Silver Spring is active. That northern part of Northwest, is active. It's just a good little area to work. So, once you find those spots that kind of work for you, you have to mine them and use them to your advantage. And the trick really to this, because people ask me, how much can you make, or what hours should you drive? And, there's a lot of variables that go into this to be successful. And I don't think any one of those variables really can make or break you. If you pick a time of day that's not ideal, it's not going to break you. You'll still get rides, you just might not get as many. If you pick a location that's not ideal, well, that can break you. Like if I pick the middle of nowhere, Westminster, Maryland, I'm not going to get any business. But if we're talking about parts of the city or parts of the greater DC area, like one part over the other isn't going to be terrible. I was in Rockville tonight for like an hour and a half. I mean, just getting rides all around Rockville. I've been in Bethesda all week off and on. And so areas that even I didn't always think were fruitful, a couple months ago, if you work them enough and you kind of work them at the right time of day, they can be. So sometimes it's a balance between knowing what areas to be in, knowing what time of day to be in those areas. And then also it's a level of persistence, and that's where the recipe is not, it's not baking a cake. It's not, 2 cups of sugar, 1 egg, two teaspoons of flour, whatever, that's a horrible cake. Don't use that recipe. But it's not that formulaic. Sometimes it's being a little flexible. If you're in Northwest and Northwest is not hitting, look at the map. See if there's surge anywhere else. Think about what's going on in the city and where there might be activity and try going there. I was in Arlington. I was down kind of like south of the river for a little while tonight, and it was active. But I knew towards, bar closing time, I wanted to be closer to bars. And so I made my way over the river and I headed in that direction. On a weeknight, maybe you want to be in the suburbs. I don't know. You have to be a little bit flexible, but you have to be a little bit strategic. And I know that sounds kind of wishy-washy, but I hope you understand where I'm going with this. So, all in all, that's kind of how my night was. It was a lot of thinking about, okay, what's going to make the most sense here? And I tried not to reposition unless I had a ride. And that really worked well, actually. Some of it is dumb luck, guys. I tend to be lucky that way, that if I'm thinking about going home, I get a ride going north on Georgia Ave. Or if I think about, it's time for me to get down to the city, I get a ride that takes me to the city. So sometimes that's just fate smiling on you and you get a ride because you're thinking about that area or whatever. But, if you get taken out into a part of the city or out into the suburbs and it's going to be kind of like a ghost town where you are, then sit for 10 minutes, see if anything comes through. If you don't get a ride in 10, 15 minutes, then start repositioning. Leave your software running and maybe you'll get something on the way. Or if you're out in the burbs and you keep getting little shitty rides, pardon my language, and you don't want those, and you're looking for a juicy ride, or you're heading to an area where there's going to be boost or surge or power zones, whatever, and you're stuck in an area where there's no incentives, well then maybe you make the call. Hey, you know what? It's busier over in this area and I'm stuck here doing little $3 fares. I'm going to turn off and reposition. But sometimes don't look a gift horse in the mouth. Hey, you know what? I got rides coming through. I'm not gonna turn off my app while there's business to be worked. So, your instincts will guide you, and sometimes you'll screw up. Anybody that's been watching my videos knows that even I screw up sometimes, quite a bit actually. I make judgment calls that don't always work out. Sometimes I go out on a limb and I try something weird, like I'm gonna go here or I'm gonna do this, and it just totally flops and you have a bust night. That happens occasionally. But the trick is, not only if you have a bust night do you have to, make up for it in the nights that follow. If you're short $50 one night, you got to find a way to find that $50. But also, if you make that mistake, learn from it. Just learn from it, so you don't make that mistake twice. And most of the time, I don't do that. There's been some times when I've screwed up and, I'll go to the airport and lo and behold, BWI sucks. And what do? A week later, I'll go to the airport and lo and behold, BWI sucks. It happens. Sometimes I get suckered into making bad calls that I think are going to work, and then they really don't. And I kick myself and go, I made that same mistake a week ago. Why am I doing this again? Learning lessons for all of us. The way Lyft works with this power thingamajiggy, I did not get anywhere near enough power hour trips, but if I include tomorrow's trips, I will definitely make 2 out of 3 of those little check boxes. My rating is good, and I'll probably have the 50 trips for that first tier $60, $65 bonus, but no way am I going to get enough Power Zone, Power Hour, or whatever, Power Doodad rides to qualify. So, but it's kind of a training wheels week. At least I get to see how the system works and, understand its quirks, so that next week, hopefully I can be more successful with that. And, maybe it'll give Uber a run for the money. I mean, honestly, there's not enough Lyft business, I don't think, to make any of those tiers really successful, but we'll see. So, experiments all around. It's a new year. There are definitely some little things I want to tweak and try differently, but at the end of the day, right now, the way I feel after the past 6 weeks, I want to just get back to what I was doing in October. I want to get back to consistently making $1,000, $1,100 a week. And, between what happened with my daughter and then just the past few weeks, kind of seasonality change and the holidays, I've had some spotty weeks that I really just didn't get the numbers I'm happy with. And so my goal first and foremost is to get back to consistently every week $1,000+ and then once I've got myself dialed back in, then I can start tweaking some of the other things I want to tweak. So know what your short-term goals are, know what your long-term goals are, and especially start thinking about that now, because January's coming, and that could bring weather. It's going to bring, kind of a quiet season. There's not going to be a lot going on in January and February. You don't really see a lot except for maybe Valentine's weekend. There's a President's Day holiday in there, but I can't see that being a big Lyft Uber. You do have the Super Bowl weekend coming up, so you'll get a little bit of bar business out of that. But just know what's coming, because if you're not thinking about those things now, then you're going to be struggling. So I'm going to sign off, guys, because it's late and you guys know I'm yawning my head off right now. I will be back on the road tomorrow for New Year's Eve madness. Don't forget, it's a little bit of a later shift. I'm quitting at almost 4 a.m. I know I've got an hour ride home, but just assume that that's the case. I'm going to be sleeping in late. I'm probably not going to get on the road till 4 o'clock. And that's okay, because there's nothing going to be going on tomorrow during the day. Everybody's going to be waiting, resting, pre-gaming. They won't really be on the roads heading towards their party spot until probably 8, 9 o'clock. So that's my plan anyway, and we will see what happens. Have a great night, everybody, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.